On the night of October 14th, 22-year-old Claire Dawson left her apartment for what should have been a 15-minute walk to a friend's house 4 blocks away. Her phone's last recorded location placed her exactly halfway there. No struggle was ever found. No screams were ever reported. No trace of her has surfaced since. Tonight, we are walking through everything that's actually known about her disappearance, piece by piece, in order, so you can decide for yourself what you think happened. Claire Dawson grew up in Millbrook, a small town where, by most accounts, very little ever happened. She worked as a dental hygienist, was 3 semesters from finishing an online business degree, and according to nearly everyone interviewed afterward, kept a routine so consistent you could set a clock by it. Her best friend, Jenna Ruiz, described her as aggressively punctual, the kind of person who texted OMDub the second she stepped out her door, every single time, without fail. That detail matters more than it seems, because on the night she disappeared, that text never came. Claire had no history of running away, no undisclosed debts anyone has found, and by every account from people who knew her, no reason to want to vanish. Investigators would later confirm her bank accounts, phone plan, and even a half-finished online course all sat completely, untouched in the years since, the digital footprint of someone who simply stopped, mid-sentence, with no warning at all. Security footage from a gas station 2 blocks from her apartment places Claire on foot at 9:47 p.m. Walking in the direction of Jenna's house, she's alone. Nothing in her posture suggests she's being followed. Rushed or afraid, she pauses briefly to check her phone, then continues out of frame. That is the last confirmed footage of Claire Dawson that exists. Jenna expected her by 10:05. By 10:20, with no text and no answer on 3 calls, she assumed Claire had gotten caught up and would show eventually. It wasn't until nearly midnight, when Claire still hadn't arrived, and her phone had gone straight to voicemail for hours, that Jenna called Claire's mother instead of waiting any longer. Claire's mother would later tell police that her daughter's phone showed one final burst of activity at 9:52 p.m., 5 minutes after the gas station. Footage, a location ping placing her almost exactly halfway between her apartment and Jenna's house, near the edge of a wooded drainage area bordering the neighborhood. After that timestamp, the phone never connected to a network again, no further pings, no calls, no text sent or received. It simply stopped, as if it had been powered off, destroyed, or had lost signal entirely and never regained it. Between 9:52 and midnight, a window of just over 2 hours, Claire Dawson disappeared from a quiet residential street without a single witness ever coming forward. Police were officially notified just after 1 a.m. By sunrise, volunteers, K9 units, and search teams had covered nearly the entire route between Claire's apartment and Jenna's house, focusing heavily on the wooded drainage area near her last known ping. They found nothing. No shoe, no dropped phone, no signs of a struggle, no blood. For a disappearance that happened on a residential street in under 2 hours, the complete absence of physical evidence struck investigators as unusual from the very beginning. Detective Marcus Feld, who worked the case for its first 4 years, said in a later interview that the scene was, in his words, almost too clean. The kind of clean that typically means either extraordinary luck or a level of planning most impulsive crimes simply don't have. Search efforts expanded over the following weeks to nearby waterways, abandoned buildings, and wooded areas up to 15 miles out. Cadaver dogs were brought in twice. Both times, they alerted briefly near the drainage area and then lost the scent entirely. A result investigators have never been able to fully explain, and one that still gets debated in true crime forums to this day. Every unsolved case eventually collects a name the internet can't let go of. In Claire's case, that name is Ray Sutton. Ray lived 2 houses down from the drainage area and had, by his own admission, spoken to Claire in passing a handful of times. Neighbors describe him as private, keeps to himself. The kind of quiet that people only find suspicious in hindsight, after something terrible happens nearby. Two details kept his name in the file for years. First, his home security camera, angled toward the street, had gone offline for a 6-hour window that night, which he attributed to a router issue his internet provider's records partially, but not fully, corroborated. Second, a neighbor reported seeing his car leave shortly before midnight, though no one could confirm exactly when or agree on which direction it went. Ray was interviewed multiple times. He voluntarily allowed a search of his home and vehicle. Nothing was ever found connecting him to Claire's disappearance. Only a person of interest, a distinction that matters legally, but rarely matters to a comment section. He still lives in Millbrook today. In one of the only interviews he's ever given, years later, he said simply, "I think about her every single time I pull into my driveway. I understand why people looked at me. I just wish they'd looked a little harder at everything else, too." 9 years on, 3 theories dominate every serious discussion of this case. The first, Claire encountered someone at random near the drainage area, a stranger, opportunistic and unconnected to her life, which would explain both the lack of a clear suspect and the total absence of evidence, since nothing ties back to anyone who knew her. The second, something happened involving someone she trusted enough to briefly stop for, which is the only real explanation investigators have offered for why a famously punctual, cautious woman would ever leave the sidewalk on a route she'd walked dozens of times before. The third, and the one her family holds onto hardest, that Claire is, against long odds, still alive somewhere, that whatever happened that night, it wasn't the ending everyone has quietly assumed for almost a decade. There is no physical evidence supporting any one of these theories over the others. That's precisely what has kept this case alive online for years, discussed and rediscussed in forums, comment sections, and amateur investigation groups that still comb through the same handful of facts, hoping something was missed. The case remains open, Claire's mother still lives in Millbrook and gives an interview every year, on the anniversary, hoping someone watching might remember something they didn't realize mattered. We've laid out everything that's actually documented. No embellishment, nothing added, What you make of it from here is genuinely up to you. What's your theory, stranger? Someone she knew, or is there a detail here you think everyone's overlooked? Tell us below, Part 2. We rank every theory by how well it actually fits the evidence. Coming soon. ****.